Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Catholic Coffee Talk, a podcast where in between sips, we answer your Catholic questions. I'm your host, Father Brad Doyle, and I have with me our resident good Catholic, Peter Gone. How's it going, Pete?
Pretty good. I can't complain. It's been a pretty good week so far. Fall is here. I'm wearing a sweater. Life's good.
Wearing sweaters is neat. Speaking of sweaters, I have a group that is, we're wearing unified sweaters, okay? Tacky, of the tacky variety, of the Christmas variety for a particular parade in December. So this is my next endeavor in Father Brad imposes himself on the culture of St. Francisville.
Okay.
So have you ever heard, you probably haven't, and if we have any Louisiana listeners, they probably have. Have you ever heard of the 610 Stompers?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras or anywhere in the South in any cultural situation, you're probably going to see the 610 Stompers. Okay. The 610 Stompers are a guys dance crew. So you go to parades, you go to festivals, you might see dance crews of high school dance crews or women dance crews, and they're trying to be super serious. Mm-hmm. This is like a cheesy dance crew of guys that dress like dads. Yeah, like dad bods, okay?
All right.
And they have short shorts and they dress like coaches, like with like headbands and stuff. Well, I've always wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be the chaplain. But it was slightly sketchy enough where I couldn't. Like the moves were like a little too inappropriate.
Yeah.
And like I know the culture around this is probably just a little too not cool. So I decided to start my own. So I'm starting instead of the 610 Stompers, it's going to be the Highway 61 Bluffers. Okay. There's a bunch of inside jokes about West Feliciana and St. Francis on there, but we're the dancing dad bods of West Feliciana. And so it's a bunch of guys from the community, like the Presbyterian ministers in it, the bankers in it, the mayor, all of us are dressing up like golfers, and we're all wearing matching tacky Christmas sweaters. And we're marching in the Christmas parade here in St. Francisville, and we're choreographing two dances that we'll just every once in a while on the route we'll just bust out in uniformed Dougies and sprinklers.
Wow. All right, I'm 0 for 2 on those terms there at the end, but Dougies,
the Dougie, do you know what the Dougie is?
Oh, you mean the dance moves, the Dougie and like sprinkler. Yeah, all right, I'm with you. It took me a minute. I caught up. Here we are.
The Cabbage Patch. I mean, just, the classics. Yeah. The classics, easy enough for, a bunch of guys, one beer in to do together.
Perfect. And the Christmas sweaters, I'm sure will make it. Someone's got to get this on video.
Oh, don't worry. It will be on video.
Yeah, send that around.
So I'm just pumped because we have our first practice this upcoming Sunday. So I have a wedding on Friday, wedding on Saturday, confirmation, the bishop's coming to town, confirmation on Sunday, and then that night at 8 p.m. Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. is our practices. So,
all right. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah. So you dance at all?
No.
So it's time for What's Percolating.
November is the month of the Holy Souls, but today, fewer people say that they believe in purgatory. Their spiritual focus is often only of feeling good or thinking of a heaven where everyone is assured of instant bliss. But visitors from the other side tell us a different story. There are countless stories of visitations from those beyond the grave, telling their loved ones about the visceral realities of the life beyond the grave. Not to mention, visions of the saints and others who see beyond during a near-death experience. Some might ignore all of this as simple superstition, but what's a Catholic really supposed to believe? We know there are invisible realities, like angels and demons, and we know of our departed loved ones are very much alive. But what about the rest? Do ghosts exist? Are they just demons? What does the Church say about all this, and why does it matter to you? Now you'll know. Good Catholic has a perfect series for this, Angels and the Supernatural. 21 days to examine the invisible world around you. This series will give you a healthy perspective on the spiritual world so that you will respect it, but not live in fear of it. Get the facts on angels, demons, and departed souls. Click the link in the description to watch the trailer and to sign up today.
Where the questions percolating in your head get answers from the church's tradition. The next time I'm up in Charlotte, I'm gonna teach you how to dance.
Well, no, it's not as hard as fast as just no. I mean, my wife has a whole dance background, and so I knew when I married her, we'd be dancing when we went out, and certainly at weddings and stuff like that. And I can hold my own, but I'm sure you would put me to shame.
Well, don't be afraid of me. No, my dance moves are a lot like God's love. They're awesome and sometimes terrible and inflict fear on people, but if you experience them, they actually
they're ultimately good.
They're ultimately good and they transform you. That might be slightly sacrilegious. Okay. So
when you come to Charlotte, we'll go out, we'll have a good time.
I know exactly where we're gonna go. We're gonna go to the place with the riding bull, and you have line dances.
Yeah,
remember that place? Anyway, keep going.
All right,
who do we have a question from this week?
All right, we got a question this week from Lisa. We'll just dive right in. So she wrote us a bit of a longer message than I normally quote here, but I'll kind of go through the whole thing.
Cool.
So this is from Lisa. First, before I ask my question, I want to say how grateful I am that I found your podcast. Every episode is so full of absolutely amazing content to guide us along our Catholic way. Thank you, and God bless you for that. And just pause and say, thank you, Lisa, for that.
Thanks, Lisa.
That's great.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's nice to hear people listening.
It's great to hear.
And not just listening, but receiving some good stuff.
Yeah. All right. She goes on. My question may seem a little broad, but to narrow it down. How do you know if you are being like Martha and worrying about much, maybe too much, or if you were doing like Esther and you were doing what God placed you here for such a time as this? She goes on to explain, I heard a Catholic say something that just did not seem like something in the Catholic Church or something that the Catholic Church teaches, and I've tried to contact so many people in his orbit to ask if I was mistaken in what he said, but no one will return an answer to my question. I just wonder if I'm worrying about something that isn't my place to worry about, or am I worrying about something that maybe God is putting on my heart to bring out so others will not fall prey to what he said. Thank you in advance for any help or guidance you can give me.
Lisa, great question. Once again, our listeners have good questions. First, as you were reading it, because I've read the question and prepared statements and what we do when we prepare for these things, but as you read it again, I couldn't help but chuckle because I had this image that she said I heard a prominent Catholic say something, and I had this image that the prominent Catholic was Joe Biden, and she's trying to contact. That Lisa's been trying to contact his press corps or something, and they're and she's I don't know why they won't get back to me. I mean, I'm just trying to call the president. So Lisa, look, me and you are trying to,
you're not the only one.
You're not the only one, Lisa. If it is our president, Joe Biden, who's a prominent Catholic who's not saying necessarily right things. Not that we're getting political here, but so first I want to say this, Lisa, in response. Sometimes we give Martha, because you specifically referenced two scriptural characters in your dilemma, because your dilemma is its own thing, but then you kind of addressed it with the scripture situation. So sometimes we give Martha too bad of a rap. We're maybe too harsh on Martha. You know what letters she has in front of her name? ST. Saint. She is a saint. So sometimes she gets a bad rap, as if she's not holy, which I don't think that's what Jesus meant. Jesus was pointing out in Mary's situation, his point was to say that Mary, who is contemplative, who is prayerful, who is in that moment just listening to the Lord, chose the better part, but not necessarily the only part, right? So there's different vocations in the church, and there's different times for those vocations. So we have to contemplate if we're going to do any action. And so not to say that Martha never prayed or was bad in any way, right? So Martha was a saint. So right. That she got holy by doing what she was doing. Maybe she learned a little in that moment from Mary and from the Lord, obviously. But our highest vocation is sanctity, and I think that's what the Lord was mentioning. But faith without works is dead, as St. James says. So obviously, we need both action and contemplation. Mm-hmm. Now, to address specifically your question, I can't necessarily specifically answer it because I don't know what was the statement that was said. So
yeah, it's kind of hard for us to comment on exactly this situation, not knowing who it was or what was said or who you are or what you can do or might do about it.
Because what was said might be not as important. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what was said, and it could be wrong, but not that important. So you prudentially see. Prudence is the virtue that decides what you say when and how what you do and when. And so there might be prudential reason to not address something because it's just not as important, but there might be very important things that need to be addressed, even if it means persecution or what have you, or personal pain. So I don't know exactly what was said, so I don't know. So instead, do you have anything to add to that, Peter?
Well, I was going to say, do we want to give some at least general guiding principles or some kind of guidance towards discernment about this? So
go for it.
I'm just kind of going to shoot from the hip here. Feel free to dive in or tell me I'm wrong or whatever. When I think it comes to discerning God's will for your life in general terms, you start, I think, with your vocation, right? Mm-hmm. Assuming you're already in your vocation, whether it's as a consecrated single person or as a priest or religious or married life, as a spouse or as a parent, so you got to take that first and foremost. And in the given situation, how do the different possible courses of action mesh with your vocation, right? So beyond just the highest calling to sanctity, like Father was saying, is following up on this particular situation of this prominent Catholic. Is that helping or hurting or neither? Your everyday vocation as a spouse, as a mom, as whatever it is you are in your life circumstance, right? So that's first and foremost, I think. That's a good place to start.
I think that's a good point, Peter, because it's a principle of subsidiarity in Catholic social doctrine, and it means like things should be handled on the lowest level possible, right? So, so we're responsible for ourselves and our family. And sometimes people get out above their in front of their skis a little bit, or they worry about it, and it actually affects our peace and our family life and our church, right? So an example of this is, I as a pastor need to be about first and foremost my people's lives here and my parishioners and what we're doing here. Not to say that it's not important to know about what's happening in the world, but that there's things that I cannot change. Right. So I think this sometimes people fall to they ruin their peace in their own personal vocation because they're worrying about things that they can't change. And so or know about completely. Right. So an example of this is, people have very strong opinions about things that Pope Francis says. Mm-hmm. Or what is purported he says, right? Because we can't even know exactly what he, because it's being purported to us sometimes by everyone's got an agenda. So if you spend your entire day worrying, not caring about your vocation or what you're supposed to do or praying, and you're just worrying about what reportedly Pope Francis says and whether you agree with it or disagree with it or whether he's leading the church in the right direction or not, and it really doesn't have any bearing right now on your personal vocation, then you're probably not doing the right thing. And so and I can't do that even as a priest. Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean you don't care, but you're absolutely right in terms of disturbing one's peace. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just my thing. So I think principle of subsidiarity is good, Peter, to bring up that, start on the basic level possible and then move up. And this is the Catholic social doctrine of politics, that really we should not just care about presidential elections. We should care about local elections and things like that. Sure. So apply that to our life and our faith as well. And I think that's good.
And I think you can also consider along the lines of subsidiarity and local or not, or national or whatnot, like to what extent are you sort of directly affected by this particular prominent Catholic? Like, depending on how you define that, the chaplain of a high school or a pastor at a church
absolutely
can be a quote unquote prominent Catholic in my circle. My pastor is a prominent Catholic within my circle, within my community. And so if he's saying something that is off the rails, I have more of a responsibility to do something about it, or to talk about it, or bring it up, or just ask clarification like you're doing, Lisa. So I have more responsibility kind of in regards to that than I would if that was happening out in, California, because I'm not in California,
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, you would totally need to be the Esther or Mary or take action in that moment. And so apply that to other situations. Like I think, President Biden's own bishop has the most responsibility on his living out of his faith, because he has care of souls of all the people within his diocese, and that's one of them.
Absolutely.
We're getting real political with this one, Peter.
Well, it's interesting with Esther, to bring up Esther as the example here, because it's not that she saw an injustice and then left her life behind to fix it. Right. She was put in a place of, just a place of power, frankly.
That's true.
By divine providence to be the person who could right that wrong.
That's true. Like it was her situation was given to her, and she was the only one who could do it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think when you look at your own situation here, Lisa, like that, just think about that, what has God given you in your position in regards to this situation to act or not to act? That can go a long way in this discernment and in figuring out what is prudent in this.
So, do you know what Esther's Jewish name was? Because Esther was not.
It escapes me.
I knew it at one point, but I think this is interesting, so I'm going to look it up. Oh, Hadassah.
That's right.
Hadassah, that means myrtle, like a myrtle tree. So anyway, I think that's good. I kind of wanted to address, because the part of a prominent Catholic, and again, I don't know, this could be as much as like a pastor or a youth minister or something, or it could be as big as a president or a pope or whatever.
Yeah.
Or a speaker, right? So I wanted to talk about like the dangers of Catholic celebrity-ism, right? Okay. And why we need to be wary, especially if someone has a prominent position. So like me as a pastor needs to be wary of Catholic celebrity-ism or celebrity-ism in general. Yeah. But me, because I'm a Catholic priest, might be Catholic particularly, because no one cares about me. It's not Catholic, right? So I'm not a celebrity outside of, my parish or this podcast or whatever.
Well, I don't know if that dance crew takes off. You never know, Father.
The Dougie's gonna make me viral. Woo. So I would say the danger of Catholic celebrity is an ancient danger. It's the danger of pride, right? So someone who becomes popular, we always have to check our pride, and without that, we were gonna just get torn apart, right? And so, and we combat that in our world with obedience. obedience. So listen, that means to listen to somebody, right? To listen to God, to listen to our superiors ultimately. And so every person ought to have someone they're obedient to, because that helps with humility, that helps keep us in check, right? So like Catholic celebrities, speakers, if you will, that are out there that are gaining notoriety should be obedient ultimately to their bishop. Mm-hmm. But I think also to their relationships and other people in their life that they can check themselves under. And if someone's not willing to be obedient to a superior, then that's a very dangerous situation for them. We've seen that in the priesthood, right? With certain priests who have had major falls because of a lack of accountability to superiors, and they kind of started separating themselves from superiors and their communities. Another danger of Catholic celebrityism is that success is often judged by consumer reaction instead of fidelity to the gospel.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so much of our modern infrastructure, and by that I mean things like social media, the internet, the way we just consume and interact with people, it's built around, like I said, reactions. It's built around likes and, downloads and going viral, and that can put fuel on the fire of celebrityism and that hubris.
So if your livelihood, like if your job is Catholic celebrity, like if your job is Catholic speaker, and then really the danger is to start saying or acting in ways not necessarily based upon the gospel, but that gets you more money, right? I mean, this is my job. That's how I put food on the table for my family. This is how I make sure my livelihood is based on views and likes and selling books. Right. That could be a danger that you have to check. We can have Catholic speakers, and I think we should, but they always have to make sure that they're serving the gospel and not falling into that trap of saying certain things because it gets more likes and more book sales and all that stuff. So
well, we got discombobulated and disconnected. I don't know if the editing skills of Mr. Zach will hide that, but I might sound a little different on this thing because now we're on a phone, but we're going to move on and keep going and keep pushing forward. And there's the phone here.
Different phone. All right.
A different phone. Hey, okay. So it's time for Bean of the Week. We need to pick me up. It's so depressing when we get separated, when we get disconnected. So we need a Bean of the Week. Okay. First, before we give our Beans of the Week, I just wanted to do a little, I don't know if this is airing close to Thanksgiving, but I wanted to do a little Thanksgiving trivia for you and Zach.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
I just sprung this on you.
Yeah. Let's
you down?
Do it. Yeah.
Okay. So, naps. Naps. You take a nap after you eat because of tryptophan and all that.
Right.
Okay, so you'll have to discuss this amongst yourselves. Known as a nappy in the British Commonwealth, what are they called in the U.S. and Canada?
Nappies? Do you know, Zach? I'm pretty sure it's a diaper.
It is a diaper. Yeah, good job. Okay, so we're going to go here. We're going to go football, right? Thanksgiving. We watch a little football on Thanksgiving. Interestingly, in 1992, Brett Favre completed his first career pass to who? Resulted in a 7-yard loss on the play.
Oh. It was for the Atlanta Falcons, wasn't it? Didn't he start on the Falcons and then they passed on him?
He never completed a pass. In fact, his first attempt was a pick six. But he didn't complete a pass until he was with the Packers the next year.
Yeah, I have no idea. Zach's clueless too.
Himself. He batted it. So look, there's a couple of hints, right? Interestingly, like why would it be interesting unless it's like something weird like that? And then resulted in a 7-yard loss. Like I don't know if even a bubble screen would have a 7-yard loss. So it was himself. He got batted back to himself. So his first career attempt was a pick six. His first career completion
was
a batted ball back to himself. And it just kind of, that's who he was. He was a gunslinger, you know what I'm saying?
It's true. Yeah, he was.
Okay. Last one. Family. The 5 families forming in New York in the 1930s are part of what cultural phenomena?
Go for it. It's the mafia.
Yeah, mafia.
It's the mafia. Yeah, it's the mafia.
It is organized crime or the mafia.
Yeah.
Good job. Y'all ready for Thanksgiving now?
I am now. Now that I know that Brett Favre trivia, I'll just say that at the table, and that'll carry me through.
Look, all you got to do at Thanksgiving table is bring up the mafia, Brett Favre, and diapers, and we got a recipe for you that'll beat any Thanksgiving recipe.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good way to steer
So
clear
real
of politics.
Quick, what is our pick me up? What's our beans, real quick?
All right, my pick me up. I mean, here we are talking about prominent Catholics and kind of that situation with Lisa. I wanted to give a shout out to a guy who he's got an audience. He's got a channel on YouTube. He comments on kind of current events and a lot of controversial stuff in the church and just more broadly about kind of Catholic culture and trying to reclaim some good aspects of Catholic culture. And he does it most of all with a really, really charitable heart. And he's really got his priorities straight in regards to being faithful to the gospel and delivering that message with love, not calling people out, not being angry, not stirring up controversy. And that man is Brian Holdsworth. So I don't know if you've come across his content at all. I mean, he'll talk about all kinds of different topics. I haven't seen everything he's put out, but I think he's just a good voice, especially because he has a demeanor of gentleness, of compassion, of love, and of a heartfelt desire to share the gospel in a loving way, and that is really important these days. So I just wanted to kind of give him a little bit of shout out and direct some of our people over to his channel as well, because it's worth your time.
He also has fantastic hair.
He does, and a heck of a beard.
I mean, the dude looks like Jesus if Jesus was, Irish.
Yeah.
So I have actually seen some of the stuff, and I thought what I saw was pretty good. Used to be a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie. My pick me up is orthotic insoles. I'm an old man, so now my pick me ups have to be old man-ish, right? So I've been suffering from plantar fasciitis for a while, and man, it affected everything. It's crazy. Your feet are the foundation of your body, right? It's like ground up. If your feet are like struggling, like, guess what? I don't want to work out. I don't want to go here. I don't want to even like walk into the office. Like it hurts, or walk in. So like you get less done at the office. It's crazy. I put some insoles. I just straight up got them at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Okay. Do y'all have Academy Sports and Outdoors?
Yeah, I think we've got them sprinkled around here. Yeah.
Okay. So I went there, got them. Not even going to say the brand because, I don't want to give advertising or whatever. But I put them in. The last 2 days have been fantastic. Woke up with a spring in my step. I literally was running around the campus yesterday, like cleaning up the campus. I was throwing things away. Like I was just cleaning up and I was throwing things away. I was like, woo, I'm throwing things away. My staff thought I was crazy because of my orthotic insoles.
Yeah. Well, so that's
go
great.
Get you some. Right. Go get you some. Get your feet right, and then you can feel better about a lot of things in life. So, anyway, you've been listening to the Catholic Coffee Talk with me, Father Brad, and our resident Good Catholic, Peter Gone. Coffee Talk is brought to you by the Catholic Company and is part of the Good Catholic Podcast Cooperative. If this episode has blessed you, you can find more content at goodcatholic.com. As always, we ask you to leave a review, a rating, share the pod with a friend, or simply pray for us in our mission. If you have a question of your own that has been percolating, shoot us an email at askapriest@goodcatholic.com. Or you can leave a voice message at speakpipe.com/Catholic Coffee Talk. We might feature your message on a future episode, and we'll answer your questions to the best of our ability. To quote the psalmist, taste and see that the Lord is good. Continue to drink deeply from our great faith. We'll talk next week. Bye.